Hello. I'm coming to you today to talk about one of the subjects that is very important to me, very dear to my heart, and I think essential to learning to write about literature well. And that is what this course is about, learning to write well about literature. And as I've said before, writing well about literature will give you a set of writing and critical thinking and critical reading skills that you will be able to take with you out into your professional life, regardless of what it is that you eventually do in your work. Um, the first thing I want to talk about is reading, how to read. Now, we all think we know how to read. What I want to suggest to you, though, is that we all need, when we get to the level of college and reading the things that we read in university, we need to learn to read again. We often are in the habit of reading very fast. We think of text, those little squiggles on the page, as useful only in terms of how efficiently they can convey the information we need, that we need to use to do something, to get something done, and then move on. Literature is different. Literature is about a writer taking great pains to put on the page language that is each word, each punctuation mark, um, the syntax of each sentence is placed there precisely as it is for a specific reason. It is not there merely to convey information. What the text conveys and how the writer conveys the content of the text, both of those things are extremely important to reading and, of course, then to analyzing and writing about literature well. Think about this. How do we learn to read when we're little? We learn to read one word at a time. See Jane run. Watch Spot chase the ball. We read one word at a time, then we learn to read sentences, entire sentences, and make sense of them, and then we build from there. The thing that we do when we are at the college level in terms of reading is concerned, we do the same thing. We return to reading the way we originally learned to read, slowly. We turn to a set of skills that we really honed for the first time when we were 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 years old. There is a chapter in a book by Francine Prose that she calls Reading Like a Writer. There is this line that she has that I like very much. She says, "What writers know, and each of you is a writer. Think of yourself. If you don't think of yourself as a good writer or as a writer, it doesn't matter. You are a writer. Anyone who puts pencil, pen, or computer to the page and tries to put thoughts together in a coherent way to communicate ideas to another human being is a writer, and you qualify." Francine Prose wrote, "What writers know is that ultimately we learn to write by practice, hard work, by repeated trial and error, success and failure, and from the books we admire. We learn to write by paying close attention to the actual words on the page. Why a writer decided to use this particular language rather than some other language. Why did the writer drop in an interjection in the middle of a sentence? Why does a writer construct a long sentence with lots of subordinate clauses? These are not accidents. Fine writers don't let a piece of writing go before they consider every element of that piece of writing. Now, one of the ways to learn to read well is to read closely. And one of the ways to read closely is to annotate your text. I'm going to suggest to you that the very best way for you to read these texts, starting with Kirbet Kiza, is to print the text. We're going to be using PDFs this semester. Print the texts and take your pencil or pen and read by placing the point of your pencil, the point of your pen, on each word as you parse, you work your way through the text. That means you have to slow down and actually look at the language, what the writer is conveying, but also, and equally important, how the writer is conveying it. What does annotation mean? Annotation means marking the text in a way that calls your attention out to something the writer has done that grabs your attention. It may be content, it may be an idea, a concept, or it may be the way the writer has chosen to use language to express that concept. You can't simply run your eyes quickly over the words on the page and call that reading. Not at the university level. Not at the level at which you're reading now. That is not going to be enough. Francine Prose writes, "We all begin as close readers, as I was saying a moment ago. Even before we learn to read, the process of being read aloud to and of listening is one in which we are taking in one word after another, one phrase at a time, in which we are paying attention to whatever each word or phrase is transmitting. Word by word is how we learn to hear and then read, which seems only fitting because it is how the books we are reading were written in the first place. Now, this is where we transition from the process of reading to the process of writing. You write exactly as you read closely, one word at a time, one punctuation mark at a time, one sentence at a time. You write a first draft, you get down your thoughts, but then you go back and you revise, you line edit, you closely read your own work and cut out everything that gets in the way of your making your point clearly. Francine Prose says at one point that you should put every word on trial for its life. Does it need to be there? Does every word do work? Make sure there isn't any fluff. Take out the non-essential stuff. Recast the sentence. Revise. pull those sentences through the flame and make sure they are muscular and substantial and not full of packing peanuts, those dreaded styrofoam things that stuff that comes from Amazon is packed in. That should not be the kind of writing that you do. So, we've talked about close reading, one word at a time, one sentence at a time. And we've talked about annotating. Take that paper and that pencil and run that pen or pencil along the text that you are reading and mark, literally underline, and make notes in the margin about what the writer is saying, but equally important, how the writer is saying it. These are essential skills in learning to read well at the university level, to read well at the professional level. You're going into the professional world when you leave college. These are essential skills. I hope during this semester we can work on developing these habits, these work habits, these ways of reading and writing. I look very much forward to that. This is an exciting process, learning to read again carefully, to annotate, to really engage with the words on the page. There's a lot to be mined from paying very close attention to the decisions that writers make as they construct their work. All right. Thank you. See you next time. Bye-bye.